Audio speed, camera speed. Check 1 2, check 1 2. I just gotta say it. I might be a week and a half late, but these new Lightroom updates are like crazy stupid. Really good, really exciting. Cut down your workflow like that. But I think that they're really gonna be great for professionals, people who do this like full time, and maybe, just maybe, bad for beginners. Let me explain. Got the fancy mic out today. All right, hold on. How we feeling? How's the camera angle? Yeah, we're feeling good now. Hey, what's going on? My name's Andrew. You can call me Pooch, and I'd like to welcome you to the Less Lonely channel. I am really glad you're here. Yes, we are talking about these new Lightroom updates, but I got the fancy mic out today. I feel like I should be podcasting, putting on my... Yeah, and the thing about that is, that's like the podcaster voice, They always say, that's a great point that you're making. And to go back to my original thought, no one's going to give me a podcast, but I do like this mic. I never busted out. And I do think it sounds the best out of all my audio equipment. But today we are talking about Lightroom updates, and I'm here with my computer because I actually wanted to bring you guys in on my process and like kind of how I would practically utilize the new tools that Adobe has given us. You see, I edit photos on a daily basis, either for myself or for a client. Like I am in Lightroom for at least an hour to 5 hours every day. It's just what I do. So whenever I find out about like a new update, I'm like, oh, okay, great. What is this gonna do for me? How is this gonna help me be more efficient? How is this gonna help me push my photos to the next level? And so when I heard that Adobe was coming out with this update, I was pretty stoked. I'm an early adopter, like with anything in life. Like, look, I've got this, you guys might know Chris Ramsey. He's a puzzle guy on YouTube here, and I'm kind of obsessed with his stuff. It's just so fun. But look, I bought his puzzle like a while back, early lockdown action here. No clue if it was going to be any good or not, but I was like, look, he's making it, I'm buying it. So early adopter, I don't even think I could solve this. I solved it once, I promise, but it's been a minute. All that to be said, I'm an early adopter. I believe in good things coming out, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. And so, yeah, I jumped on this update. What's actually crazy about this specific update is that about maybe a little less than a year ago, I actually was able to be a part of an Adobe beta test program where I got to try out this update, and it's like first iteration. So it's like really cool to see like where it started versus like where we're at today. All right, let's get the picture up and start editing. So here we are. We've got a picture of my buddy Kirk, who is an artist. We just got done doing a photo shoot for him for artlist.io. I'll link all of his stuff down below. He's a great dude. So I want to go ahead and edit this photo. I'm going to bring it up to snuff really quick before we dive into some of the more specific details, because this isn't an editing tutorial. This is just, I want to talk about these updates. So let me get this photo like to where it needs to be, and then we can dive into the details. Okay, so that was the lightning round of me editing this out. This is a very basic edit. This is what I consider just kind of like getting it to a base level. Here's the quick before, and here is the after with the quick changes. Nothing really crazy at all, but just bear with me because we are going to dive into the specifics of the update right now. So this update focuses really heavily on the usage of like AI, machine learning, on how to compute like the best photos. And the way that it does this first is by utilizing its presets. Now, we're not going to apply a preset to this image, but I do want to show it to you because it's really cool. So up here in the top right-hand corner, we see the presets. Click on that, and a little box comes up. And the first thing over here is the recommended presets. And it's pretty wild because, this is looking at this photo, taking the data from this photo and going, what do we think will work? It's a lot similar to mobile apps. I think of like, Snapseed or Google Photos, where they might recommend a look. You can view more. And yeah, they're very stylized. And they would obviously need a lot of work. Like, you wouldn't just slap this on unless you were in a hurry and you're just like posting to social media really quickly. But for professional work, I would never just go with one of these presets. But I do think that's a really cool feature. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that out because we're not gonna apply one, but I just wanted to show y'all. So let's talk about the practical ways that I would use the update, and that's gonna be in the form of masking. So over here, you see this little circle, and we have masking options. So look, traditionally we've always had brush, linear gradient, and radial gradient. Those are like really standard tools. If you use Photoshop, you're totally familiar with them. Honestly, any photo editing software and video editing software actually has things like this. So that's nothing new. But let's talk about the AI again. Up here we have select subject, select sky, and then down below we have color range and luminance range. You also might see that depth range down there. Okay, that's actually kind of wild. Depth range is for mobile photography. Pixel 6, the new iPhone, pretty much anything that has maybe a portrait mode in it. This allows you to select which depth you want. Do you want the thing in focus, or do you want to edit the thing in the background? I don't know how I'd personally use it, but that's kind of cool, right? Let's go ahead and start with select subject. I'm gonna go here and just click it, select subject, and Adobe's gonna do its thing. The AI is gonna analyze the image, scan it, and then check this out. Boom. It selected him. I mean, Kirk is perfectly selected. That's brilliant. Because you know what? In the past, what I would have had to do is I would have had to select the brush tool and paint him in, or done like a radial gradient and like erased all the way to his edges, like gotten like up on the skin and stuff like that. And that's a time suck. So this is really, really awesome to see. What I also love about this new update is how easy it is to add and subtract from your selection. So in the past, adding and selecting, it wasn't necessarily difficult, but it did feel a little bit clumsy. Now, all you do is simply click in this layer panel here, click add, and then it gives you all of these options. So like, what do I want to add to this mask? Well, let me use a brush. I could have clicked Shift B, but I'm not often a hotkey user. I don't know why. I'm probably wasting even more time not doing that. But now look, I've got my brush selected. I can select the size. Over here, I can look at feather flow, density, all that good stuff. And all I really want to do is I want to zoom in here. And all I really want to do is just go ahead and paint in the rest of his shoot. Now, it didn't really need it. Like, I don't think that's going to make a ton of difference in the edit, but I just wanted to show you guys like how you would practically use that. Say I wanted to select him and this light here, well, I just brush it in, and now it's all part of the same selection. I don't want to do that, but pretty awesome. Let me edit him really quick. And there we have it, something super simple. Here it is before, without the mask, and here it is after. Brought him just a little bit more to life. The subject now feels like really in focus. It's really crisp. We've lifted his exposure a little bit to just make him pop in the image, and yeah, that's... So the next thing I wanted to show you, at first I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I didn't really understand how to use it, but that's the Luminance range tool. So check this out, it's still in my mask layer, so I'm going to create a new mask, click on Luminance range, and now it's giving me this little crosshair right here. So essentially what this is doing is allowing me to select an area in my photo, and then the AI is going to examine the photo and look at all of the areas in the photo that have that same level of exposure or luminance, like how bright they are. So let's go ahead and select this tile section right here, because I want to do something kind of fun with it. So as you can see, the AI is so freaking fast. It's selected all of this, every single little outlet where that light was coming through these cool pillars, it's selected perfectly. There's a little bit of bleed, so we're going to subtract just a few things, and subtract is the same thing as using the apply or the addition selection, and I'm just going to erase on his head. I just don't want a ton of bleed over on him. That's all. I've selected this luminance range. Now, what am I going to do with it? Say I want to warm up the light that's coming through these pillars. In the past, I'd either have to like just adjust globally, like all of the image to make it warmer, or I'd have to, again, paint, and then, you know, up the color. And the good news is with this, I don't actually have to. So now that the luminance is selected, let's just go ahead and raise that, the yellow a little bit. And like, what? How crazy is it to see this, just that light change? And again, this isn't anything necessarily new, but for me, as someone who does this all the time, this is saving me a ton of time. That's really cool though, honestly. I really like that, and I just think that's so cool. We can bump the saturation if we wanted to. I'm not going to do that. I want it to be actually a little bit washed out. You know, just like soft gold, nothing too crazy here. And if I wanted to, I could, pop those highlights. I don't want to overexpose them. Maybe bump those whites up a little bit and those shadows. And let me show you, here it is before, boop. Cool blue light, here it is after, boop. So again, we're just changing things up. We're making things look magical here. So there's some of the practical ways that I would use these updates. I'm gonna go ahead and finish editing this photo, show you guys before and after, and then share with you why I think these are so good and so bad at the same time. Hyperspeed, baby. So there you have it. Some juicy Lightroom edits, all done with a Lightroom update that is just making the job efficient and extremely accessible to everyone. You see, back in the day, what am I old? When I first started, there was a lot of trial and error to figure out how to do what I just did. I knew I had to jump from Lightroom to Photoshop back to Lightroom to do certain specific edits and certain specific selections. So with this update, it is just, in my opinion, really well done by Adobe. So why good for pros and why bad for beginners? When you're a pro photographer, hell, when you're a pro at anything, you quickly learn that your time is your most valuable asset. And so anything that you can use, any tools, any strategies to help save you time and get you on to that next project, that next meeting, or that next opportunity to rest is worth it. And we're seeing that this update does just that for us pro photographers. It's just making the editing process that much faster. For beginners, I do believe that it's giving you a head start in the game. Being able to dive in. If you took a photo today and then popped it into Lightroom and you had never done any editing before, you have some amazing tools at your disposal. But here's the rub. For beginners who are starting with these brilliant AI suggested presets and all of these masking tools that are doing a lot of the work for you, yes, you're starting at a great spot, but you could be missing out on that all-important process, which is putting in the work and figuring things out. Hear me out. I am not trying to gatekeep here. I am honestly so excited to see people who are just getting started skyrocket and create stuff that, was far better than anything I could ever create. I think that the beautiful thing about this is that it's democratizing the photo editing space and just the photography space in general. I think that's good. But I will say that I personally benefited greatly from hours upon hours upon hours spent figuring out, why does a photo look this way? How do they get something to look the way that they did? In that moment when you've been going crazy in the edit, you're adjusting sliders, going wild, and you lean back and you're wait a minute, this photo sucks. That is such an important part of the creative process. That is part of the journey. That's my argument there. That's why I think it could be bad for beginners. If you're a beginner, definitely use the tools that you've been given, but take the time, do the dirty work, and figure out what the heck a photo even is. Because that's been the really fun part for my creative journey, is just the discovery of it all. So in summation, I do believe that the world of higher end professional photo editing, the floor to get in is lowering. And that is a good thing, because we're going to get so many more people who are just as creative, just as talented, and just as eager to put things out into the world that we all need to see. But as the floor lowers, I also see the ceiling raising, because these tools in a pro's hands, we're gonna see some crazy stuff. It's more than just picking a dude out in the middle of a photo. We're gonna see some really next level things, and I'm so excited for that. To all my pros out there grinding away every day, your life just got a whole lot easier. And to all my beginners, welcome to the grind. I'm so stoked to see what y'all create. All right, thanks for joining me on my creative journey. I feel a hell of a lot less lonely with y'all here. If you want to feel less lonely on your creative journey, then I'd recommend leaving a like, dropping a comment, and then ultimately subscribing so that we can be creative together and feel less lonely. All right, I need to figure out another reason to use this mic. Did you guys notice I was grabbing it like a DJ? Up next, another video about something that I'm interested in. All this and more on the Less Lonely channel. I don't know. Thanks for being here. Peace.